Good afternoon, friends. David Wright here, and I am your host of the Disruptive Innovators Champions of Digital Business podcast. And dissimilar to any episode to date, out of the 105 or so that we've reported, we are today live from Dean Street Studios in Soho, London. And I am lucky enough to be joined again by my friend, Breno Gentil. Breno.
My pleasure.
Yeah.
My pleasure to be here with you again.
Yeah, man. So, Breno, we had you on, I don't know, a number of months ago now. For anyone who's not familiar, can you just share a little bit about your background?
Of course. So I am Breno, Brazilian. I live in UK, London for now almost 10 years. My career is in technology. I've been CIO, CTO at companies in the consumer goods industry,
Sure.
companies like Heineken, British American Tobacco, and Kraft Foods.
Yeah.
And since the last year, I'm on a portfolio career, advising, consulting some of these big multinational companies.
Sure. So yeah, humble as well. So, preeminent global C-level technology leader. But the thing that got me excited, I guess it was after we recorded the podcast, Breno started sharing with me about, a voyage, which I'll let him share about. And, when I started Disruptive Innovators, I originally thought it was going to be kind of a technology podcast. And, as the years have gone on, it's gotten into more to be a conversation about leadership and life and resilience. And, I was just having this conversation with one of the NHS trusts up north about the fact that, we see that there's like management consulting and then you have technology integrators, but there's this space between where change happens, where human connection happens. And, I think I've got to host a lot of those conversations. I know we talked about some of that stuff. So, I mean, I can't imagine needing more resilience than, literally sailing across the Atlantic Ocean. So,
Yeah.
I mean, bro, maybe you could take a minute to share about the last few months and what you were up to. Because I mean,
Yeah.
I was very, fascinated.
And look, I think you spot on one of the key leadership learnings of the adventure I did is resilience.
Yeah.
And obviously, there's a lot I experienced, which is about sailing. But the lessons about resilience, actually, they can be applied anywhere, whether it's in your professional life or in your personal life. But in summary, as I share a little bit in our previous podcast, I had this dream of doing an ocean crossing sailing. It's a dream that I carry since I was young. I had, experiences of learning to sail with my father in a small city, a bit far from Rio, and we would sail in dinghies, and we'd cross like a lake, which for me as a young boy, that was like, wow, I'm gonna go with my father, cross this lake, and
Right.
we'll go to the other side. Would grab some sea salt, come back, do barbecue. Like, that experience, is really good. Over the years, I sailed a lot again with my father because he was a passion for it. Some sailing through the coast of Brazil. And fast forward, I made my career in technology, as you said, CIO, CTO roles, but I kept this dream that one day I would like to do that big adventure scale to the side of an ocean crossing. And I remember first or second year that I started living in London, I saw an ad in the tube from the Clipper Race, which is a British organization founded by Sir Robin Knox-Johnson. And I said, wow, that's really amazing. I want to do that one day. But with the life, in the corporate, it's difficult to find the time to do it. The time commitment it's tough.
Right.
And I turned 50 2 years ago. I said, I think this is the right time to do this journey. So I left Heineken where I was, even though I was super happy. I decided to give me the chance of doing this. So I went through the trainings that are necessary, which remain quite a large commitment, 4 training levels. You have to really go through security practices, maneuver, etc.
Right.
You train for it. And then this was in August 31st. I left UK in the south, in the city of Portugal, and went to the journey of a month, arriving at the end in Uruguay, in South America, with a lot of stories in my backpack to share.
Wow. I can't even imagine. First of all, I don't think I could get a hall pass personally from my wife to cross the Atlantic Ocean, but even if I could, how many people were with you?
19 to be precise, 19 people. So this is it's an ocean sailing race.
Okay.
Where 10 boats, which are identical, they are completely identical to each other, same size, same equipment, same sails. So the difference is the people,
right?
The people in the boat. And what is unique about there are many sailing races, and there's one of the very famous one is the Volvo Ocean Racing, which is like the Formula One, the most modern, millions invested in each of the boats. The Clipper race is different because they are not the most modern boats. They are, maybe think of them as the Land Rovers of the sailing world. They are very resistant. You can take them everywhere. And the other aspect which is unique about the Clipper race is it's meant for amateur sailors. Actually, you don't even have to have experience sailing. You are trained and prepared for it. So all of us in the 19 people in the boat, only 2 people are professionals, a skipper and a first mate. They are the only 2 professional ones. Everyone else, amateurs, coming from different backgrounds, different experiences, but we're all taking to the minimum required in terms of security, practices, maneuvers, etc. And obviously, there's some minimal physical abilities you have to have because, we sleep in bunk beds. And
right.
Boat, but we all compete against each other.
And so how many people were on each boat?
About maximum 20 people per boat.
Per boat.
Oh, and wow. 10 boats competing. So these are 70-foot boats. Wow. It's quite a lot of people for a confined space.
Right.
Yeah. We had to sleep in bunk beds. We had to share bunk beds, actually, because each boat, we divide each other in like 2 watch groups.
Right.
Because you have to operate the boats 24 hours, non-stop. So when there's one team working, the other team is resting, and the cycles continue 24 hours a day.
Wow. What would you say was like one of the, like, did you have any scary moments, like where it's, yeah?
I did. There's a funny one. It was scary, but it was a funny one. One of the toughest parts of the race was the first week. So we left Portsmouth and we sailed through the coast of France and Spain, and we had a first stop in Spain near Cadiz, in a small city called Puerto Sherry. And the part where we had the toughest moment was in the Bay of Biscay, which is in the coast of France.
Sure.
Where we had a combination of very strong winds, plus the sea state in that area, the Bay of Biscay, is very tough because it's a bit shallow. So you get big waves. So that combination meant we had 5 days of really, really difficult weather. I mean, rain, strong winds, the boat very inclined, seasickness. So everyone was extremely tired. And it was the first week we were getting used to it. And I remember this might have been, 2 a.m., very tired. And I was in the cockpit outside with the rain. I literally slept awake, sitting by myself. I slept, and I had this dream of someone give me a warm cup of coffee. And I woke up, someone shaking me to go take the helm. And I was literally with my hands up, like taking the coffee from that person. This was how much tiring it was. But the interesting is, at the same time that it was the most exhausting part of the trip, when I actually was helming the boat in the middle of that tough and being able to really maneuver, it was that feeling of confidence,
right,
and mixed with empowerment. So you are you know, dealing with Mother Nature in its really raw situation,
Right.
and you are in control, and you know, actually you're maneuvering a huge boat with lots of other people. It was a great feeling.
Yeah.
At the same time, it was the toughest moment. It was also one of the greatest feelings I had.
Wow. Yeah. I can only imagine. I mean, so it took 30 days. And you sailed to Spain, and then from Spain, did you just go across the Atlantic?
So we went from Portsmouth to this city in the coast of Spain.
Right.
That was the first. So the Atlantic crossing is divided in two races because it's a competition. You get points.
Got it.
By arriving first, second, or third. So each position you get some points. You also get points by a few other things, which are if you get to be the fastest boat on a particular part of the race, like they put two gates, imaginary gates. So if you are the fastest one, you also get points. And you also have like an imagining scoring, which is like, imagine like a portal a bit, outside, and if you cross that. So think of a Mario Kart game,
right?
Sailing, it's a bit like that.
Did you get any points?
We didn't get those points, but we won the first race. So we arrived first in Spain.
Nice.
Which was an amazing feeling.
Yeah.
Amazing. And it was quite, difficult because we had a second boat right, catching up on us. So they arrived only a few hours, which is in a sailing race, it's not a lot.
Right.
It's very few. So we arrived first in Spain, amazing feeling. And then once we arrived in Spain, the weather was beautiful, sunny. We had like celebration, awards, etc. We stayed in the port of Spain about 5 days.
Oh, wow.
Which was enough to rest. And also the boats needed some maintenance.
Yeah.
Because of the bad weather, some boats had really difficult things to fix. We actually had one of our sails damaged, ripped apart. We had to, stitch it back. And so after 5 days, we left Spain, and then it was all the way to Uruguay.
Wow.
So that meant crossing the northern hemisphere to the southern hemisphere, passing through the line of the equator.
Right.
So initially we sailed through the coast of Africa until we crossed the Cape Verde Islands. And then once we crossed the Cape Verde Islands, we started to move west and then closer to the coast of South America. And the interesting part was, it's almost like we had 3 stages of those 4 weeks.
Right.
Because sailing through the to the Atlantic, it's quite predictable. So the first part, northern hemisphere, once you leave Spain, it's really about sailing downwinds. So you get, the winds coming from your back, which is amazing for sailing. We get a amazing experience. The boats are quite fast and nice to maneuver. You can put the spinnaker sails, which are beautiful. So we had an amazing time, sailing in that part. But then once you get closer to the line of the equator, there's an area called the convergence zone, or some people call it the doldrums. And this is the area where you have almost zero winds, because that's the area where the sun hits the sea at its 90 degrees angle. So it's where the water gets really warm,
right,
and it evaporates.
Interesting.
So as the mass of air goes up, there's no actual movement of air on the horizontal. So you have a lot of air moving up, going out, and then moving again. So it's an area like you're in the middle of a lake because it's completely calm.
Right.
But you're actually in the middle of the Atlantic.
Wow.
Miles and miles from either side, either Africa or South America. And that's where the race has a rule, which is you can actually turn on the engines.
Right.
For a number of miles.
That's what I was going to ask. Yeah.
Else we would be sitting there floating for a week. So we had the engines up and running for 3 days in a row.
Got it.
Extreme hot temperatures, especially difficult to sleep because when you go, there's no air conditioning in the boat.
Yeah.
There's only fans, which became like the luxury of the trip.
Right.
So it is hard to sleep. And eventually those huge tropical rains would just come and pour water on everyone. Wow. And that's with the fun part where you don't get to have, really great showers once you're in a boat like this.
Right.
So you use these big tropical rains, just, this will be the moment of people say, bring the shampoos, and everyone will be having, showers outside on the boat.
Wow.
So that was another, amazing moment. And then we left that middle part when the wind was back again. Then we started to sail to South America.
Sure.
So we were sailing through the coast of Brazil and then Argentina and Uruguay. And that's where the wind starts to get a bit difficult and heavy again. The conditions, we had a few storms, some storms where I saw like those lightnings as close as I ever seen.
Right.
So it's a bit scary. And we arrived in Uruguay in fifth place. So we were in third place, honestly. We were almost going for it. And we had to do one maneuver. And our spinnaker sail actually got tangled on the headmast. No one could take it off. Our skipper had to actually go up and remove it, but it was enough for two boats to pass. So when we arrived in fifth, we're still happy for that.
Yeah, no, I would be too. And you got the first place finish on the first leg.
That was an amazing experience.
Yeah. It got me thinking about like the whole experience, about how I've dealt with fear over the course of my life and my career. So, for example, like when I first started Disruptive Innovations, I had like fear of failure.
Mm-hmm.
I struggled with imposter syndrome. Like, do I really deserve to be here? I feel like I've done the work personally and professionally to get right with those fears, such that like the more I was thinking about your experience, like the more I was like, if you're going to do something like this, you do the preparation, you have the right people on the boat, it's a once in a lifetime experience.
Yep.
Would you say you were actually, and I feel like you're the kind of guy who's arrived at that place largely too. So did you feel more, at peace with whatever was going to be, or what was your experience like?
I was at peace, but I had moments of self-doubt as well.
Okay.
I'll give you one situation. So as I said, one of the nice things about sailing when you have the wind coming from the back downwind is you get to use those huge spinnaker sails. Those look like a kite,
right?
Which are beautiful. You get lots of speed, but maneuvering the boat on the helm,
right,
requires a lot of precision. The movements of the sea can take you off the course, and that sail can easily be wrapped around.
Mm.
Or it can be, tangled on itself. And it can be very difficult. Sometimes it can be damaged. Many boats have this, especially when it's at night, when you don't have many things to see. So I was, doing a maneuver, and I was at the helm and feeling very confident. I was actually one of the best helms person on the boat, especially when there was tough weather. And I eventually made a turn, I think probably too fast, coming from a wave that hit us. And I got the sail to be tangled. And it was tangled in a way that we couldn't take it off. We had to wake up the other crew that was sleeping. Everyone, had to bring it down. It took, I don't know, half an hour. And the sail actually got a small damage ripped in the middle of it. We couldn't use it. We lost one position, a boat passed us, and I felt really down because I was helming, I caused it, and I kept that on my mind. And the second day, we had another sail, put it back, exactly the same situation. And when it was my turn to go there, first I thought about should I not go? Should I ask the skipper that I'm not feeling confident enough? I almost did it. But then I said, you know what? If I do this, that thinking will stay on my mind. So I said, I'm going to do it, but I'm basically going to accept that I'm feeling concerned. So I went to the skipper and said, look, just tell me if coach me if I'm doing something wrong. I'm feeling a bit nervous because of that. And she said, Breno, forget it. That happens to every sailor. Just keep it on. And I also had a colleague of mine who said, just stay here and just give me some coaching. And, my confidence came back after, 1 hour there doing again.
Right.
And I feel really, really nice about, having gone through the experience of, failing on something,
right,
but then coming back and doing over again. And I'm pretty sure we have parallels of that in our professional life. Times.
No, for sure. And, I think a few things. Like, one, I think it takes courage to have the stick to itness to actually do it again and put yourself in that situation again. I think another thing is being vulnerable enough to bring up the concern or the fear, bounce it off a couple people.
Yeah.
I mean, that's so huge, right? Because you have people that can see your blind spot or say, no, Breno, you're doing great. That was just a blip. Keep moving. Because, as people that want to reach the height of their career or whatever, we're oftentimes type A. We want to win. We want to do well. But to get there requires failing.
It does.
Or requires, mistakes or whatever it might be.
Of course. Yeah. I think when you get to, whether you are high performing athlete or a, top leader in an organization, you're in that position because you have constantly, stretch yourself.
Right.
And you're never going to win. You're never going to succeed in every single thing you try. And so that's, I think, where resilience really, it's part of achieving those big things in life.
No, for sure. I mean, I always say, and I probably said on the podcast before, but my biggest moments of personal growth came out of the darkest times in my life where I had, failed at, at something, but ultimately I was able to step through it, take something significant away. What I've found is that as I go through these, moments in time, if I'm able to shift my perspective, take something away from it, that's actually invaluable, really.
Yeah.
And I think that's how I've arrived at the place where, I'm not trying to control everything today. I'm not I understand that there's a certain subset of things I can do. If I have that kind of feeling or emotion or whatever, I can identify it. I could say, oh, well, that makes sense. I just went through the situation. I fell on my face. Of course, I'm feeling a little anxiety about scaling the business while, I have another kid on the way. But I can talk about it and not let it consume me.
Yeah. It's a strong point. And you mentioned something which also is very, visible in an experience like this, which is there's so many things which are outside of our control.
Right.
And in a sailing, the weather is totally outside of control. And we had sometimes this weather that would stick for days. And I remember the waking up, because the way the teams are organized is during the day we work 6 hours and we rest 6 hours, and during the night we operate in 4-hour shifts.
Got it.
So that means you wake up 2 a.m. or 6 a.m. depending on the shift. And some of these bad weathers, they will stay just for 5 days. So you wake up, bad weather, you go to sleep, bad weather. And I remember, to my mind, waking up and looking back, oh, again, there's nothing you can do. The only what you can do is really try to be positive about it.
Right.
Make a joke about it, or I don't know, eat something nice for breakfast and share a story, because the weather is the weather. The sea doesn't care who you are, what you do.
Right.
It's going to stay there. And so I think finding, even though we had difficult moments, either was because of the bad weather or because it was just a long journey.
Right.
Finding, the fun things to do that would just, change your mood or take the negativeness from your mind was extremely important.
Right. What I take away from that too is gratitude, right?
Yeah.
So this is something that you chose to do because it was an amazing experience. It was an amazing opportunity. Similarly, I'm scaling a business. I have a beautiful family at home. These are gifts.
Yeah.
So at times when I start working myself up about, oh man, like there's so much going on, I mean, these are the gifts in my life.
Yeah.
Right. So how can I take a step back and like, recenter and, and I think for me, the mindfulness really to be able to do that in a moment, right, is something that I continue to work on, right, daily. It's like I can pause in a moment, take a deep breath,
Yeah.
call someone. I mean, there's a lot of tools, meditate, but really get clear on the fact that, I have a lot to be grateful for today.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, Breno, this has been amazing. I mean, I was just excited to kind of highlight something that I thought was like just really badass. But being that we are disruptive innovators,
Yeah.
in your mind, I know we talked about resilience at the beginning of the episode. How would you tie your voyage back to, what we're doing as IT and digital leaders? Like in your mind, what do you think is the most kind of relevant parallel, if you will?
The resilience, I think, as we already discussed a little bit, I think it's hugely applicable, whether it's on technology. So any leadership role, resilience is key. The other aspect that also, actually there's two. As I told you, in this race, the boats are identical. So it leaves the difference are the people.
Right.
And we discussed in our last podcast, any big transformation that brings technology, there's a tendency to put the focus almost exclusively on the technology.
Right.
But there's no change unless people change as well.
Right.
And I think that for me is a big parallel to the saying. The people that are the ones that make a difference.
Right.
Our boat won because we perform as a team better than the other ones. Mm-hmm. And that's the difference. And I think technology today is becoming better, cheaper, and more democratized.
Right.
You and me, we can create a new app in days if we want to.
Yep.
So the difference is what's on our minds, what do we want to do?
Right.
Scale that up to organizations. It is the people in the organization who are really going to make the technology work best or not. So I think that for me is one big reminder that the same experience brings me and applies to professional life.
That's such a huge one. And in regard to like the app creation, I had a company that was about to buy an app that did forms, like they had digitized a certain form. It was very, very basic app.
Yeah.
I created it with AI in 5 minutes.
Oh.
Like I literally like put the app or the form in, created it. Yes, the potential is out of control from that standpoint. But again, I've been having this conversation a lot this week while I've been here about the fact that it's true everywhere. And I mean, in the pretty much every organization that I've worked with in the United States, the people, the culture, the organizational change management, that's where the success happens. I mean, and I've said this before. I mean, but you look at the statistics on like the failure of digital transformation initiatives McKinsey's been reporting on for the past 20 years, 70, 80%. They point to communication, people. I mean, it's no surprise.
Yes.
So I think that, or rather, as IT and digital leaders, I think it's our responsibility to really step into that role where we're reaching across the aisle and really enrolling people in what we're doing. And what I was talking about with one of the trusts earlier today was the fact that it's often a grassroots effort, right? Which is not necessarily the responsibility of the CIO, right? But to inspire your people to go out and have those conversations and enroll those people, it's what makes the difference.
It does. Yeah, and it depends on the organization, but I see more and more CIOs, colleagues that I have where the role is becoming intriguingly more a change orchestrator or
Right.
change, I don't know, agents, and changing the minds of the board of the company.
Right.
Companies which have a mindset already towards change makes the job easier, but I think the CIO, CTO role, it's pretty much about knowing how to drive change than anything else.
Yeah, you just reminded me. There was an article from earlier today about how Nike got rid of the CTO role and the chief commercial officer role. It was two roles.
Yeah.
And I believe they still have a CIO or chief
Yeah.
digital officer, but it all rolled under operations,
Mhm.
and they're trying to flatten things out.
Yeah.
And I mean, it makes sense to me, right? I mean, these are the use cases are becoming more and more relevant to workflow and operations. I mean, technology is more infused
Yeah.
in what we're doing operationally than ever before.
Yeah.
Like you said, the infrastructure and the other elements of it have become largely commoditized or democratized.
It's true. Yeah.
And so the magic happens in the collaboration and the operationalization of technology.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Some people would disagree, but I have a theory, which is when my kids go to their professional life or they reach my life, they will come back and ask me, Dad, what was the CIO role you had? I'm not sure it will exist anymore, because I think organizations will become, as you said, technology will become so much part of the operation of the company, the DNA,
Right.
that technology will permeate every single team, every single group. And there might be still a role that makes sure that everyone uses the right, I don't know, data platforms, etc. But I think technology will be led by all the different parts of the company.
Right.
And I think you might see a little bit of that model in the digital native companies.
Yeah.
I hardly see digital natives with a CIO role, because the sales organization have a tech lead, but they all share common foundations. And I think what this is different from old legacy organizations is that if you don't have a CIO, probably everyone will start to use something different.
Right.
And you lose the scale. But I might be wrong, but I believe in the future, in 50 years from now, there's no need for a CIO role anymore. Even though the technology will still be as, if not more, used across all parts of the organization. I don't know. That's my theory.
Hopefully a lot of our CIO listeners will be retired by then.
Yeah.
So it won't be an issue.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, Breno, this has been amazing. Yeah, I can't thank you enough for coming on today. And to our listeners, thank you all for tuning in, and we will catch you all next week.
Perfect. Thank you.